I was just on a mastermind call with this really awesome group of people. It was two masterminds combined into one call. It's all about sales and really high level business owners. I mean, people who pay $30,000 a year for one mastermind, and the other mastermind is $35,000 a year to be a member of. I don't belong to either one of them, but I'm connected to a few people who belong to one of them. So I was very fortunate to be in the room. But there was something that was very interesting while I was in there. So we're talking about sales, and this guy's giving this whole training on sales. And they were role playing at one point because they're overcoming objections. And the guy who is the leader of the call was doing this role play with this guy, and this guy was using the spouse objection, right? I got to talk to my spouse. And it's very interesting because when he was talking about the spouse objection, it was actually a real thing that that guy had dealt with before he joined the mastermind. His spouse was like, well, here's what the objection was. She said, well, you spent $13,000 before on another program, and then the previous year before that, you spent like $95,000 on programs, and we don't see much happen from that. So what makes this any different? And one thing I found fascinating about that was, what? Like, how does that happen? How do you pay $13,000 or $95,000 for something and you don't follow through till completion? And he's talking about the conversation he actually had with his wife to be able to join this mastermind, one of the two masterminds, whether it's 30K or 35K, and how he had to convince her to allow him to invest in that. And the wife's objection to him joining was, well, you joined before, but you don't really follow through before, on previous things. What makes this different? I was like, that's crazy. So that just made me start thinking about when I used to work and sell gym memberships. One thing that happens when you buy a gym membership is you get the feelings from buying a gym membership as if you felt like you got the results already. You literally feel like when you buy a gym membership, you feel like you just bought the results. That's what it feels like. That's what happens in your brain. And guess what? What do you start to do? You start to go buy some gym clothes, some nice ones that look great. And the whole time you feel good, like, oh yeah, I'm making this commitment. And you have all this dopamine that gets released in your brain. Well, it's the same thing when you invest in a program, in a course. When we invest in these kind of things, we have this release in our brain as if we've already achieved the result that we're looking to get from it. And we're like, finally, I'll be able to get the result that I'm looking for. Finally, this is the thing, like, all right, awesome. Like, here we go. It's exciting because you really believe that there's going to be a change. But what happens? Program after program, event after event, you end up back in the same spot. And a big thing that's wrong with this is that people try to emotion themselves into action. They get fired up for a little bit. It's probably happened to you. You make a big purchase, you're fired up, and you feel like, finally, I'm going to make the change. Finally, my life is going to make the shift that I really wanted to make. And that's the wrong way to go about it, because inevitably that emotion fades. And anything worth doing is going to take a long time before you get results. So your emotions will fade way before you get results. And then you find yourself in this cycle. And then you have this program that you maybe haven't finished, but the emotion has faded from it. And you don't feel like it's hard to muster up back the emotion to get yourself to take the action. falls on the back burner, and you're looking for something else. Thing after thing. It's a terrible cycle to be in. So what's the right way to go about this? Well, instead of trying to emotion yourself out of this, we need to systemize ourselves. That way, we can make sure we really follow through on these things. So, first off, understand that there's no such thing as an overnight change. I mean, we've had events in our life where we're like, all right, fuck this, I'm making a change in my life. That definitely happens. And that's happened in my life where I made the decision to make a change and I made the change. However, my life didn't just go from where I was at to a completely different extreme in 2 weeks. It took a long time. And I had to have a lot of emotional leverage in order for me to make that happen. But the point that I'm making here is the changes you want to make aren't going to happen just like that. So with that being said, we got to figure out a way to build this into our life so we can take consistent actions towards this thing. So when we're not feeling emotionally compelled to do the thing, we still go out and make it happen because we've built the systems and the habits in place in order to follow through. You see, we buy these new things and we don't address the core problem, which is the fact that you have trouble doing the things that you're supposed to do. You think, oh, I don't do this because of that, or I don't do this because of this. It's like, no. First, we gotta address the system. What's a system? What's a cycle that we run consistently every single time we do something new? We gotta fix that at its core, and we have to start with something that's completely unrelated from these programs that we're taking. So, in order to follow through on these programs, we must be able to follow through with other little tiny ass things. Things that seem insignificant. Things that seem like, it's not a big deal. But it's these little actions, these little discounts that we make every day that make a massive difference. So if you say, I'm gonna eat healthy today, and you don't eat healthy, you don't think it's a big deal because it's one day. That actually is a big deal, because you know what? The next day, it's gonna be harder for you to be healthy. And then the next day, you're probably not getting healthy again. Or maybe you've been taking cold showers and you miss a cold shower one day, like, it's all right, it's one day. Well, guess what? It's probably happened to you where it's easier to miss the cold shower the next day. So there's nothing that's a one-time instance with the actions that we take. Every action that we take builds momentum towards a direction. So the more that we take the path of most resistance, meaning the more that we make the decisions that we know we have to do that are difficult to do, well, if we take that cold shower once, well, guess what? It's still going to be hard to take the cold shower the next time, but it's going to be a little bit more difficult to quit. So you're more likely to take that cold shower again the next time, and then again. And action, no matter what action it is, builds on itself. It creates momentum. So what that means is we have to start with little ass things in our life, with things that seem so small and insignificant, and start following through on those little things so we know what it's like to build systems for ourselves in our life for us to execute. Then once we have like a oiled machine that allows us to, we know when we say we're going to do something, we do it, and we know how to implement new actions into our life, then that's when these programs that we invest in, and we start a new workout program or whatever it is, now it's easier to implement those things because we know the process by which it takes in order to execute on that, because we've done that with other things. Remember, how you do anything is how you do everything. So if you can't even follow through with your bedtime, say I'm gonna be in bed every day at 9 o'clock, and you can't even do that, well, what makes you think you're gonna follow through on this business thing? Yeah, it's more exciting. Yeah, no. Emotion will always fade. If you're relying on emotion to dictate your actions, you're at a severe disadvantage. Because the most successful people, from my observation, take action not from a place of emotion, but they just take action because that's who the fuck they are. Okay? They built those systems for themselves. You think Kobe Bryant, when he was training, you think he was just like, oh, I feel like working out now, let me go work out. Yeah, I feel like it. Of course not. You know how many practices he probably had where he didn't feel like going to the gym and putting in the reps? You know how many probably times he had to sacrifice spending time with his family to go to the gym to put in the reps? So, big thing here is, in order for us to really follow through with like really big things that matter to us the most, we have to start following through with little things that are insignificant or seem insignificant, that don't seem like a big deal in the moment. Every time we miss a meditation, every single time we say we're gonna journal and we don't, those little things add up. So don't be surprised when you invest in some new program or some new book or whatever it is, a new workout program, and it doesn't work out the way you thought it was, and then you lose the excitement, and then you're looking for the next thing because you're just filled with all these shiny objects trying to shortcut the process when the machine itself that you're using to execute is broken. So start with getting your life together on that aspect. Start very small. This is not going to be an overnight thing. Remember that. It's going to take some time. So I'll end with this story here. I've built tremendous momentum in my life before. Tremendous. And then I had imploded. And there's a point where I was going through some changes in my life. So I had lost a lot of the discipline and momentum that I've created for myself. So I had to rebuild it. So I had to start rebuilding this about 6 weeks ago. And I would step all over my bedtime. I wouldn't follow through with specific things I said I was going to do. So I said, you know what? I'm going to commit to just going to bed every single day at 8:30, no exceptions. I cannot step over that. That is my firm boundary that I'm keeping with myself. And I had crash and burn days. There were days where I'm like, the productivity was terrible. I didn't do what I said I was going to do. But you know what? I knew that. I knew that I was going to have these days. And I was 100% okay with that. Because as long as I was in bed by 8:30 and I was up at 4 a.m. and I did not snooze my alarm, I won that day. Because I'm starting to rebuild that muscle of following through with what I say I'm going to do. So I wasn't preparing myself for like, I want to make an overnight change right now. I prepared myself and I set myself up. I started rebuilding the system so that way I'm successful 3-4 weeks in. Now I feel fantastic about myself. I'm able to express myself. I'm able to really be who I am. I'm following through with the things that I say I'm going to do, and it feels fantastic. So it starts with little steps. Don't think about how can I make the change right now. Think about what can I do right now so the change that I make occurs in 30 days, in 60 days, and don't discount these small actions. Albert Einstein said that compound interest should be the 8th wonder of the world. Benjamin Franklin, in his will, he put that he wanted schools built teaching kids the importance of compound interest. Warren Buffett's business partner Charlie Munger says that a big reason why most people aren't successful is because they get in the way of compound interest taking place. And compound interest does boil down to seemingly insignificant things, small ass actions taken consistently over a long period of time. That's where we see our gains. So don't aim for overnight change. Aim for little actions that lead to big change in 30 to 90 days. If you like this video, hey, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. I may or may not be posting more, but I want to get that off my mind. And I know that with YouTube, it's a fantastic way to put some long form content up, and really say what's on my mind. So if you like more of this, just comment below. I might do some more off the cuff videos like this in the future.